Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Hopefully, everybody's having a great day. Hopefully, everybody had a great week. Happy May 1st, everyone. Can you believe it? We are in the month of May. April's over, and the Yankees have played 31 games overall. They have a 20-11 record. They're first place in the AL East. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment. But shout out to the folks in the chat. Make sure you all hit the like button, hit that subscribe, share this channel out with everybody you know. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's continue growing this channel. Thank you to all the new subscribers. The channel's been really, really growing as of late. So thank you all very much for your support. So we're 31 games in. And as I said, the Yankees are 20-11, and they're 9 games over 500. They're off to a good start so far, right? I can't really complain about the way the Yankees have been playing so far, although there are some areas for improvement. And I think those areas of improvement will happen at some point. Hopefully they do happen. But right now, the way the Yankees are playing right now, I'm pretty satisfied with how things are going. Now, before the season even started, there really wasn't a lot of hope for this team whatsoever. There was zero hope for this team going into the season. You know, while other teams were making moves and signing players and overspending, spending a ton of money on players during the offseason, which, every player this offseason, there was definitely a bit of an overpay. There was, yes. I know folks like to talk about Trent Grisham's $22 million, right? I know folks want to talk about how much Cody Bellinger is getting paid, but there's other players from other teams that are getting paid a ridiculous amount of money, and they're not performing up to the contract or the money that they were given, right? That they're being offered every year. So there is that. But back to what I was saying. Again, overall, the Yankee there was a negative outlook going into the season. That the Yankees were running it back, that the Yankees didn't really sign anybody of great quality, right? They only, it was Trent Grisham's $22 million, and then it was signing Cody Bellinger back. They didn't really, sign any, or trade for any big name pitchers. They didn't sign any, big bullpen arms. There was questions about that. I certainly had my questions about the bullpen, no doubt. The bullpen was a question mark for me. The bullpen is still, I don't want to say it's a question mark, but there's definitely some room for improvement when it comes to the bullpen. But when you look at the starting rotation, even with Luis Hill, who was in the rotation, who got sent back down recently, even with him in the rotation, the Yankees starting rotation has been phenomenal to start the season, right? Even with Luis Hill in the rotation, they had with the starting rotation overall had ERA just a little over 3, even with Luis Hill. Without Luis Hill, it's below 3. So that ERA is in the 2s. So imagine when guys like Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole come back. Imagine what the rotations look like then when those two guys come back. Carlos Rodon, he pitched last night. He pitched, I believe it was 5 innings. He had 8 or 9 strikeouts, 75 pitches. So he is getting close to getting back on the major league roster. And, at some point, he's going to be plugged into the rotation. Garrett Cole's been making some of his rehab starts. So, at some point he'll be back too. And then the question is going to be who's going to go to the bullpen. Right. That's going to be the question, because I in my opinion, I do believe that Ryan Weathers is probably going to be that guy. Although I will say Ryan Weathers, I have been very happy with him and how he's looked so far. I know there's been a couple of games where the Yankees lost during his starts, but that was due to the offense not coming through for him. But I think overall, I think Ryan Weathers has been pretty solid for the Yankees. Again, I still remember when the Yankees traded for him. A lot of fans were very unhappy of trading for Ryan Weathers. I felt good about it. I as I said during the offseason, I think he had the stuff. He's got a good arsenal. It just needs to translate on the mound. He struggles first couple of innings, but then he starts to turn it around, right? I mean, the game against the Angels, for example, where he gave up back-to-back home runs. He ended up giving up 4 home runs in that game and overall 4 runs in during that outing, but was still able to strike out 10 guys, which is unheard of. Because usually when guys give up 3 or 4 runs like that, especially when they're home runs, they don't have 10 strikeouts. They just get completely dominated. They barely have any strikeouts, but to still have 10 strikeouts it's pretty impressive. So he has shown that he could be durable. He has shown that he can pitch well, but ultimately I do think that he does go back to the bullpen. And the bullpen, speaking of the bullpen, their numbers right now, as far as the overall ERA, they're at 3.82. The bullpen is a little bit high as far as ERA goes. The ERA, there definitely needs to be some improvement. Guys like Camilo Doval and Jake Bird are kind of leading the pack when it comes to ERA. Both their ERAs are around 7. So, their ERAs need to improve. I think a guy like Camilo Doval, he's got great stuff. He's got good stuff. He just needs to get a control of his command. He's a little too wild on his pitches, and he needs to regain more control. If he can regain more control, I think he'll be unstoppable on the mound. And I think he can be that perfect setup guy for David Bednar, right? And with Jake Bird, I still, believe it or not, and I might be off on this, but I still believe in Jake Bird. I do believe in Jake Bird. I think Jake Bird he's got the stuff. He's shown in a few games that he is capable of getting out of an inning. He can go up against the best of them, and he can shut it down against opposing bats. So, but more times than not, they have not had some good outings. So you hope that you hope these guys can improve over the course of the season, and I believe that they can. Personally, I believe that they can. It's just a matter of especially with Doval, it's just a matter of finding his command and having a little bit more control. He's a little wild, right? He's a little wild, so there certainly needs to be improvement there. But when we look at the positives of the bullpen, the guy that's been standing out to me, it's been Tim Hill. He's been coming in, whenever he's been put into the game or brought into the game. So far with him, with 13 games pitched, 1.42 ERA, in 12 2/3 innings pitched, he's got a WHIP of 0.63. He's looked solid so far. He's been one of your better bullpen arms. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Tim Hill. And I remember when the Yankees had signed him off of waivers a couple of years ago, didn't know who he was. I don't think any of us really knew who he was, but he came in and he's been lights out, right? He's always been durable. He comes in, he's not afraid to challenge opposing team. He goes in there, gets the job done. I mean, really can't have any complaints about him. So I think he's been that guy that's been, one of the better bullpen arms. And David Bednar has been good. Yes, there are some games where he is a little bit shaky, but he's able to get out of these jams. But also, I got to keep in mind too that if the defense behind you is not doing their job, or if they're failing you, it's definitely gonna put a little bit more pressure on the pitcher, and it's gonna fire up the opposing team, right? It happens. We've seen it way too many times with the with the Yankees, right? Where, if they make an error, it's just going to lead to something bad. And, which is sad, but it is what it is. So you hope things improve with the bullpen. I mean, right now their ERA is in the high threes. So overall, when you look at the Yankees pitching, they're ranked 12th. So that's like middle of the pack. It's not bad. It could be better, right? It could be better. But hopefully those numbers do improve with the bullpen. I believe that they can. I think the Yankees are going to look for bullpen arms at the trade deadline, but that's a little bit of ways to go. But also they do have pitching depth, right? I mean, they do have Carlos Lagrange. He's a guy that could potentially get brought up. I mean, you saw Elmer Rodriguez pitch against the Texas Rangers. We'll talk a little bit more about him. And before I go any further, let me say what's up to the chat. I need to say what's up to the chat. So let me see who we got in the building. Katie is first person in the building on a Friday. What's going on? Brooklyn's in the house. What's up, Susan? John's in the building. We got Petruzzi in the building. Jonathan's in the building. Desiree's in the building. What's up? How we doing? Who else we got? Joseph is in the building. Jigga's in the building. Hey, what's up, JB? He says Game 3 will be an awesome matchup. Baz versus Fried. That will be a good matchup for sure. What up? Who else we got in the building? Just saying. I just want to make sure I say what's up to everybody. Well, it looks like I got everybody. So, but shout out to all of you. So, but we'll keep going here. So, what's up, Jake? And I think it's one of the weak spots on the team. If McMahon continues to struggle for the next couple months, have Lombard play third, keep Cabby at shortstop. I mean, Lombard just got promoted to AAA. So, I mean, if he has like this phenomenal, exceeding expectation type of performance, maybe he does get called up. You never know. Although I don't see it right now. Like I don't see it as of right now. It's too early to make that call. But yeah, McMahon, he's made slight improvements, but it's not anything to celebrate. But it's better than where he was. But I'll still take his glove at third base. I'll still take his defense at third base every day of the week. And at least if he is struggling offensively, the Yankees could just quickly go to Ahmed Rosario in a pinch, and Ahmed Rosario could take over at third. I mean, Rosario, talk about a guy that's been killing it right now with the Yankees. He's been pretty solid in a lot of the games he's played. So, but yeah, McMahon, unless Lombard bats, it can't be worse than McMahon. Well, playing at the minor league level and at the major league level is different there, Jake. Right? I'm just going to throw it out there, and people are probably going to be pissed off at me, but, Dominguez got called up, only got a hit so far. And unfortunately, he got hit in the elbow. The guy just can't catch a break, and now he's probably going on the IL with an elbow injury, right? We don't know the severity of it. And then when it comes, look at Elmer Rodriguez, right? Elmer Rodriguez was killing it in the minors. He was mowing opposing teams down, but he debuted in his major league debut, right? He made his major league debut, and I didn't have like high expectations for him because it was like he was making his first major league start, and I wasn't expecting anything big. I mean, he did okay. He did fine, but I wasn't expecting him to be lights out. But some of that probably has to do with the jitters that he had, getting called up, to the majors, your first major league start. It's not, it's not easy, right? And it's the same thing with Lombard. Lombard could kill it. If Lombard was killing it in AAA, which I think he will, but I don't expect him to be lights out in the majors, right? Again, I keep talking about this. You got to manage your expectations. Well, I know I'm talking about if we were called up. McMahon is so bad offensively. Yeah, but again, Lombard is killing it right now in the minor leagues. But when you get called up to the majors, man, it's a totally different story, right? I think Lombard is going to be a great. He's the future, right? I don't think there's any doubt about that. He is the future of this team. He is going to be. I believe he will make the major league roster. When next year I think is definitely where he needs to get a shot. I think he needs to be on this roster, no doubt. There's definitely high hopes for him, and I think the Yankees are doing right by him. But as I've said, the Yankees are 20-11 right now, and I can't ask for anything better from the Yanks right now. I really can't, right? So, they started their season off in San Francisco when you look back at the end of March, and they swept the Giants, right, in San Francisco. That's where they started the season, swept the Giants. Then they ended up winning 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. So, they had a 5-1 start on the West Coast. Sorry. Just trying to get my words together. So 5-1 start at the West Coast. Not bad. Then the home opener against the Marlins, that series, they won 2 out of 3. They could have swept the Marlins, but unfortunately, they won 2 out of 3. But I'll take 2 out of 3. Series wins are always good. I'll take series wins every day of the week. But this is where things started to, the second, third week of April, it started to get a little dicey for them, right? They started faltering a little bit. So, they lost 2 out of 3 against the A's, which was not ideal. I mean, I feel like that was a team that they could have, won 2 out of 3. But the A's have they got a good team, young team, right? They're still building, obviously. They got swept by the Rays, which that was just a terrible series overall. The Rays were just better than the Yankees in that series in every aspect, whether it's the bats, the defense, the pitching, just everything just clicked with them. They're again, just playing that small ball. Then went back home. They had a 4-game set against the Angels. They split that series in 4 games. They won 2 and lost 2. So that was a series split. I would have liked 3 out of 4 at home. If the Yankees split away, that's a different story. I'll take a split away on a 4-game set. But then the Yankees started turning it up, right? After that Angels series, they ended up sweeping the Kansas City Royals. After that, they swept the Boston Red Sox at Fenway. And then they ended up beating the Astros 2 out of 3. Then they ended up beating the Rangers 2 out of 3 to close out the month of April. And they're 20-11. So I think that the Yankees overall in the month of March and April, I'd say they did pretty well. For me, it was just a matter of these guys need to just get through the month of April before some of the reinforcements come back. I know there was a lot of question marks going into the season, but I think the Yankees so far have been able to hold their own. Now, before I start talking about the offense, I just wanted to get to some of the comments. How do I feel about Grisham leading off? Personally, I'm not really for him leading off. I think he's better in the bottom of the lineup. I think if you bat him about, 6th or 7th, I think he would be better. Personally, I would have Jose Caballero leading off. I like Caballero. I'd rather have Caballero leading off. Caballero is a guy that can hit for contact. He can also steal. He can get on base. Creates opportunities for the guys behind him. So I personally think Caballero is a guy that can certainly fulfill that batting leadoff role. I like what Caballero has done up until this point. I know it was a little rough there starting out the season for Caballero, and it almost seemed like, oh boy, he's not having a great season so far. So it's making it easy for guys like Anthony Volpe to get his job back. But as of late, though, Caballero, he's actually been solid for the Yankees, right? Not just with the bat, but defensively. I mean, he's got a defensive run saved of, I believe it's 6 or 5, and the only player that's better than him at the shortstop position is Bobby Witt Jr. So, his batting average at one point was in the 100s, right? He was batting around 150, 151. If I'm not mistaken. And now you look at his batting average right now in 30 games. I mean, he's batting 267, on base percentage of 313, slugging a 400. His OPS is at 713. Really don't have any complaints about his bat right now. He's got 12 stolen bases. He's pretty aggressive with the ABS challenges, and he's actually been in some ways he's been definitely off when it comes to the ABS challenges, but he's also been spot on. I know Desiree's saying Jazz and Kebby shouldn't be able to tap their helmets. Well, Jazz should probably stay away for a little while. I think he should stay away for a little while. But Caballero, though, as we're talking about him, I think he should keep his job. I don't think the Yankees should just, give the position back to Anthony Volpe. I know Aaron Boone was asked about Anthony Volpe and what the game plan was with him. And, the only thing Boone kept saying was, we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. That was his comment. And, he wouldn't commit to anything, even though, Brian Cashman said that the game plan was always for Volpe to get his job back, which I understand. But, Cashman's also leaving it up to Aaron Boone to give Volpe his job back. And if you notice too, if you're not performing, right, if you're not playing well, the Yankees are not wasting any time. And that's something I can appreciate, right? Like Ryan McMahon, right? He wasn't playing well. But the bat's still not great, right? The bat's still not great, but especially to start the season, the bat was awful. And Boone didn't waste any time. Boone benched him. He played Rosario instead, right? So just so McMahon can work on his swing, he can work on his mechanics. Again, as I said before, I think McMahon is overall, I think he's improved. In some ways, right? It's nothing to celebrate. I'm not saying let's celebrate McMahon's success right now, but remember his batting average was well below 100. He was at .069. Just think about that. Right now, his batting average is a little bit closer to 200. It's not the greatest, but it's trending up, and you hope that it trends up. And McMahon is a guy that can be a 220 batter or 220, 230 hitter. He's certainly capable of it. What happened to his bat? I mean, who knows? But you hope that things will improve overall with Ryan McMahon. But his glove at third base, I'm not replacing that glove, because there's been remember who we had last year at third base, right? And it's not a knock on him, but Oswaldo Cabrera, Oswald Peraza, we had guys like that playing third base. Yorbit Vivas, another one, playing third base. Jazz was playing third base. Jazz wasn't bad at third base, but I like him better at second. But the fact of the matter is, though, the Yankees, when you look at it defensively, they got a legitimate third baseman in Ryan McMahon, and he's made some solid. He's been solid with the glove. So I'm not taking his defense lightly at all. So get to some more comments here. Like the idea of Caballero, Rice, Judge, Bellinger, or Caballero, Bellinger, Judge, Rice. Not opposed to that. I do like the fact that Rice is batting a little bit higher in the lineup just because he's just been killing the baseball. So you want that at the top of the lineup. So, I like that, Boone is mixing things up, but I know folks might say that, Boone is playing musical chairs with the lineup, but this time around, he has a lot better options. So, and yeah, Volpe does need to earn it. I agree. Yankees are 18 for 43 for batters and ABS challengers to begin the season of the first month. So 18 for 43. So, if you go 18, I mean, if you look at it as a percentage, 41, what is that, 41.8? A little less than half. It's not bad. I think they should keep Volpe in the minors because he has options. If Caballero starts to struggle, that's when maybe they can call Volpe up. Perhaps, right? Volpe could be that option. But there's also, they also have Max Schumann. So, the Yankees have some depth now, right? The Yankees have better options. What's up, Jake Boss? Jake Boss is in the building. What's going on? Spencer Jones. Listen, I've been wanting Spencer Jones up here for a while. I've been wanting to see Spencer Jones up at the major league roster for a little while. So, yeah, I would love for him to come up. I mean, the guy could play the outfield, solid defender, solid bat. Yes, he strikes out a lot, but he can hit those balls. He hits those balls hard, right? So you can't go wrong with Spencer Jones. I do want to see him up here. Jake Boss says he's listening while working. Well, I appreciate it. Just make sure you don't get in trouble at work there, dude. McMahon can't hit above 200. You have to play someone else there. I think the problem with the team has been offense. You don't need a superstar defender. Well, no, you don't need a superstar defender at every position, but third base is a big deal, though, right? Third base is a big deal. You don't need a superstar at every position, but I want a solid glove at third base, though. That's the thing. And McMahon provides that. So, the Yankees haven't had a good third baseman in quite some time. So I like McMahon. His bat definitely needs to improve, but at least they have a backup. When he's not performing well offensively, they have a backup in Rosario, right? Had this been last year, the Yankees would have zero options. So the Yankees have better options this time around. They can play around with they can play around with sitting players and starting players. They have much better options this time around. Stanton Ziel, they said 10 days. I believe, yeah, I believe they did say 10 days. I don't know if that's still accurate. But it's a calf strain, so I wouldn't. He's probably going to be out for a minute. Nope, still no word on Dominguez. Still no word on Dominguez. I mean, they took X-rays, but they couldn't see anything. So they were waiting to go back to New York to probably do a CT scan, I believe. So I'm sure we'll find out results. I mean, I'm sure we'll hear about news about this later. But if there is an injury to Dominguez, what do the Yankees do then? Right? Jake says, I agree that third base is a big deal, but if he can't hit, then I think Rosario is a better option potentially. You're losing some defense, but you're getting more offense. Yeah, and when it comes to the offense, I know folks we're talking about the offense. Yankees overall, they're fifth in offense. I was actually looking up the Yankees bats or offensive numbers. They're actually fifth overall. The numbers could be better, no doubt. I think the numbers could be a lot better. I know. Again, a lot of folks like to talk about Trent Grisham and how he's not hitting well. But if you notice with Grisham, he may not be hitting well, but he has been able to draw some walks in his at bats. He's been a little bit more patient in his at bats. Again, I know the 151 batting average is not attractive. It's nothing to get excited about, but he's been able to draw some more walks at the plate, right? And that's something that the Yankees struggled with last year. If you noticed overall, it's not just with Trent Grisham; it's the entire lineup. The Yankees lineup has been a little bit more patient at the plate, which that's something that we were that we're wanting, that I wanted, at least, right? I can't speak for the rest of you, right? But Grisham, he may not be swinging, but at least he's drawing some walks, so he is creating opportunities for the guys behind him. And the other thing with Grisham too, you know, he's a guy. Remember that one? I know it's only one game, but he's a guy that, if the Yankees are winning or losing, should I say, if they're losing, he's been that guy that's been able to come through in a situation and tie the game up or give the Yankees the lead. He has that capability, and he makes good plays in center field. I mean, sometimes he can be a little lackadaisical. I'm not gonna deny that. But you look at some of the defensive plays that he makes out there, and I'll ask the question: does Dominguez make those plays? Probably not. Right. And again, I know a lot of people are probably going to be upset with me about it, but and it's not because I have a problem with Dominguez. I like Dominguez, man. All right, I do like Jason Dominguez. I think I think he'll be a solid player. He's going to be a good player. But my thing with Dominguez is that he can't, his defensively, he is not good. He's not. Right. He's not a good player. Grisham is a better defender than he is. Spencer Jones is a better defender than he is. All right. His bat is solid, but his glove needs to improve. And I think it will. It's just he just needs to show it. Jake says they're in first in home runs and 25th in batting average, so they'll probably have to put the ball and play more. Runners in scoring position has been tough for them. They have their moments, but in my opinion, I think they've been a lot better so far, right? It's 31 games. I'm not, there's still a long season to go, but I think they're doing better this season with runners in scoring position than they were last year. Right? They're actually trying to put the ball more in play and create those opportunities without having to rely so much on the home run ball. Right. So, I mean, they still rely on the home runs, of course. I mean, every team is going to. It's big, but the Yankees have been trying to hit a little bit more with contact. What's up, Adam? Adam Hurley, first time seeing you. What's going on? I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to go ahead and disagree. What do you mean the utter disgrace? Disgrace to what? I can't even answer that question. If Dominguez gets called up, or DH slot will be, or if Jones gets called up, DH slot will be more usable for different guys. Jake, yeah. I mean, it gives the Yankees a little bit more flexibility on the roster. Jake pause. That was funny. But yeah, if Jones does get called up, it does it does give a little bit more flexibility. It gives a little bit more versatility to the Yankees roster. Jones could go play out there, and Judge could be the DH, right? Jones could play, center field, and you can move Bellinger to right, right, and then left field, or you could move, or you could move Bellinger to DH, right? And I think Jones, I know he's primarily center fielder, but I feel like Jones is one of those guys. If you put him anywhere in the outfield, I think he could play well. But Grisham, you could bench Grisham for a few games. You could put him in the DH spot. You could put Jones out there, see what he's made of. That wouldn't be a bad idea. And John says J-Dom is a borderline star DH. That is reality. And that could very well be the case there, John. He could very well be a future designated hitter that could potentially, he could potentially take over for Giancarlo Stanton. If his defense does not improve, if his defense in the outfield does not improve, then he could. I think he's a guy that really can be a full-time DH. Wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, because again, he's got a solid bat, and I think that and I think his bat is great, and I think he can fulfill that Giancarlo Stanton role of just being a full-time DH, and he can play the outfield occasionally if needed. I want to see him out there. I do want to see him out there. I want to see him out in the outfield. I want him to, be a full-time player, but just with offensively and defensively, I want him to improve with the glove, but that has yet to happen, unfortunately. So, and real quick, I'm just looking at the poll. Looks like I got 15 votes, and 67% of you are saying that the Yankees are meeting expectations. So, and 27% of you expected worse. So I'll take that. But yeah, Jones is a great athlete. Spencer Jones he's definitely a great athlete. I mean, he's a solid defender. He's got a solid glove, and he could. I feel like he's one of those guys that he can play center field. He could play left. He could play right if you need him to. I mean, I think defensively, I think he's versatile, and with the bat, he's yes, he strikes out a lot, but I think he is he's also a guy that can hit a lot of home runs, and is a threat at the plate too. Does Jones have a strong arm? He's got an arm. Yeah, he's like I said, he's got some great. Defensively, he's great. Defensively, he's great. Jones and Lombard have the potential to be great with the bat and the defense. I would agree. Again, though, to me, I think those guys are the Yankees' future. I think those guys are going to be part of a Yankee core of young players coming up. And the Yankees already have a few, with Ben Rice, with obviously Cam Schlittler. Those guys have been solid so far. You also have Will Warren, who's been great. Elmer Rodriguez, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. I know that his start against the Rangers, right? I wasn't expecting anything extravagant, I think, but he certainly has the potential, and he can hold his own. But he needs more. He needs more time to develop, and I think he will develop. I think he'll develop into something good, and he just needs to get that experience at the major league level. So Yankees have a group of young stars coming up. I think they have a great group of guys that are coming up in the minor leagues, in the farm, and I think these guys can there's a lot of guys that are really going to contribute to the Yankees' future. In the past, I didn't really, I didn't really have that confidence. I mean, the Yankees scouting back then, I mean, wasn't the greatest, but um, I do think that now there's a lot of rising stars in the Yankees farm, and it's not just George Lombard Jr., Spencer Jones. I mean, yeah, you got Elmer Rodriguez, Carlos Lagrange. You also have guys like Ben Hess. You have Bryce Cunningham. You got Dax Kilby, right? Dax Kilby's a guy he's slowly he's slowly creeped up in the ranks or moved up in the ranks. Keaton Kent is another guy who's making some noise down there in the minors. So Yankees have a lot of Tyler Hardman, right? He's another one I'll mention too. Tyler Hardman. He's another guy that the Yankees have in the farm. So Yankees' future is bright, right? Their future is bright. But when we're talking about the Yankees right now, the Yankees, I think, they're 20-11. I'll take it, after 31 games. But let's see how the month of May goes, right? We'll see how the month of May goes. I mean, I'm pulling up the month of May. So to start off, they have a 4-game set against the Baltimore Orioles starting tonight. Then they host the Texas Rangers, right? And then they fly out to Milwaukee to play against the Brewers in a 3-game set. Then they go to Baltimore here in a couple of weeks on a 3-game set to play against the Orioles. They have a day off. They travel to Citi. Then they go to Citi Field to play the Subway Series against the Mets. Then they come back to the Bronx. They have a 4-game set against the Blue Jays at Yankee Stadium, and that I'm looking forward to that series. I know the Blue Jays aren't playing well, but I'm really curious to see how that series plays out, because anytime you play against the AL East teams, man, it's never easy. And then they host the Rays. Let's see how they do against the Rays this time around. Then they travel to Kansas City against the Royals. Then they close out the month of May against the A's. So, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is an easy month for the Yankees. Definitely not saying that. I believe I think they have 29 games, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, 3 against the Orioles, then 3 against the Rangers. That's 6. Brewers, that's 9. Orioles, 12. Mets, 15. Blue Jays, that makes it 19. Braves, 22. 25, 28. Hopefully I did my math. Hopefully I counted right, but I think it's 28 games. Well, 28 or 29 games. But I'm not gonna say it's an easy schedule by any means. But I do think that I think the Yankees can have another successful month. And Beagle saying our farm system's doing very well. If every team in MLB wants our prospects, don't you think, NFE? Well, yeah. I mean, there's every team is going to reach out to the Yankees. I mean, and see if there's a player that they're interested in, right? So the Yankees do have prospect capital. There's players that they can trade if they want to, but it has to make sense. You're not going to just trade players just to trade players. So, you're anxious for the data end? Yeah, I feel you. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to probably be live for like another 15 minutes. So appreciate you all being here, hanging out with me on this Friday. Thank you all so much. And I'll tell you what, because I never announce it. I never say when I'm going to do it, but I like to surprise people. I'm just going to go ahead and put the link to the to the stream. So if anybody wants to come on and talk, and let's chop it up. Let's talk a little bit. Are the Mets losing on purpose? What is going on? I don't think the Mets are losing on purpose. So I just think that they're just not playing base. They're just not playing good right now. That's what it boils down to. That's cool, Beagle. Oh, you can't join today, Jonathan? You working? Busy at work? Is that what it is? If not, I'll probably just wrap it up then. I've been live for like 45 minutes, but um, you know what I think the Yankees are doing really well. I think the Yankees overall, I think offensively, they're I think offensively they're playing well offensively. I think they could be better, but overall, I'm happy with what this team is doing. I mean, what I'm happy to see with the Yankees is that they're drawing a little bit more walks, like they're being a little bit more patient at the plate. They're hitting. They're not relying as much on the home run ball. They're putting the ball in play, and they're scoring more runs that way with base hits, sac flies, and they're also being a little bit more aggressive on the base paths, right? So they are stealing a little bit more. They're trying to create those opportunities. They're trying to put pressure on more teams. But what they need to improve on with the bats, I think with the bats, I just think that overall, like the batting average, just with some of these teams need to greatly improve, right? And when it comes to the pitching has been really well, right? The starting rotation's been lights out. The starting rotation, their overall ERA, and that's with counting Luis Hill, is just a little over 3. But it's nothing. I think overall the rotation's been solid. The bullpen certainly can use a little improvement. I think there's obviously a couple of guys that need to do better, and that's guys like Jake Bird and Camilo Duvall. But the bullpen right now, their ERA is a little bit closer to 4. But when you look at the overall pitching for the New York Yankees, it's not. I mean, really, the Yankees pitching has been holding it down. If anything, I think their pitching has been better than their bats. Right, their bats haven't been too bad. The bats have been fine. The bats been coming through when it matters, especially when the Yankees are down about 1 or 2 runs. They've been able to make these comebacks. They're not just giving up. Where we've seen in the past where the Yankees are down 1-0, 2-0, and they can't seem to get a run. But it's a different story this time around, right? John is asking, I wonder how much the analytics team is meddling with the Mets players. I heard that some teams' analytics tell hitters when to swing. When to swing, like during game time? I don't know about that. That seems kind of weird. And I couldn't tell you anything about the Mets analytics and how their analytics team runs things. I really couldn't tell you. But are you saying Gary Sheffield said it in an interview? Wait, so I'm trying to understand. Is he telling? Are the analytics team telling hitters during the game when to swing? Is that what I'm getting at? What's up, Bill? How's it going, man? What is going on? They tell them what to do and what counts. I mean, yeah, I think they're probably tell them what to do in certain situations, sure. But during game time, though, I mean the manager is always the manager or the first base coach, third base coach is relaying messages to the players on what needs to be done. They're giving the signals. Then I mean that's every team though. Again, I don't want to. I don't want to jump to conclusions here about what the Mets are doing, what their analytics team is doing. I have no idea what the analytics team is doing. Yes, Trua, I am planning on doing the pregame play-by-play tonight. That is the game plan. So I'll put out the stream for that. So hopefully I'll see all of you there. But I'm going to wrap it up here. That's going to do it for me. But I do appreciate you all jumping on this Friday. I wanted to just go live on this morning just to, talk about the Yankees' overall performance for March and April. I'm pretty happy where they are. Are there improvements that need to be made? Absolutely. I think those improvements will be made over the course of the season. And of course, the number one thing I forgot to bring up when it comes to the Yankees is going to be health. Right, the overall health of the team needs to greatly improve. So, hopefully, the if the Yankees can stay healthy, this could be a very successful team. What's up, Dorian? I know you're just popping in, man, but I'm actually going to wrap things up. Sorry. But hopefully next time, man, you can catch me, go live on time, and we could talk some more. But you're an eternal optimist when it comes to the Yankees. Yeah, like I said, I feel good. You're always like, that's all right. It's all right. I feel good about the Yankees. I mean, I didn't have this negative outlook going into the season at all that a lot of fans had. I was just like, let things play out. I think this team's going to be fine. Right? I think this team's going to play well, but there's still a long season. There's still a long season when it comes to the baseball season. It's 31 games. They got another 131 games to play. So, I still think, I still think that the Yankees will finish first in the AL East, and I think they'll, the way the American League is looking right now, it's not. The American League is looking pretty weak. I don't know what's going on with all these other teams, but it's not looking great. Starting pitching cannot be better. The starting pitching has just been solid, man. I really have zero complaints about the starting pitching. And it's going to be even better when Cole and Rodon come back. It's nearly impossible for the starting pitching to be better. And there wasn't really a lot of hope for the starting pitching to be good. There was zero hope, especially with Cole not being there and Rodon not being there. There was zero hope for the starting pitching. Bill O says, I said at the start of the season, 106 wins in our 20th World Series championship. Book it, man. If they get their 28th championship, that's gonna be huge, man. You don't know how much Cole and Rodon can be. Then the guys will be replacing. I mean, you know what's nice though about those two guys returning. It's an overall upgrade in the rotation, but it's also going to take pressure off those guys too, because the rest of the rotation's playing very well or pitching very well. So, but adding those two guys is just going to even make it better. Yeah, Yankees and Dodgers are stacked with starting pitching, and that's the thing. That was something that the Yankees lacked a season ago, was pitching. Right, it was pitching, and ultimately, that's how the Dodgers won the World Series was with their pitching. So it certainly wasn't the offense, because the offense was not great for the Dodgers in the World Series. The Blue Jays actually had better bats than the Dodgers did. So there's the pitching overall won it for him. I think Luis Hill is ultimately going back to the bullpen, but right now he's in the minors. He got optioned out to the minors after Sunday's start. What's the future for Luis Hill? Who knows at this point? But I think his days as a starter is over. I don't think he's going to ever start a day in his life again for the Yankees, unless God forbid they have some pretty bad injuries, right? and you got to call him up in a pinch. But I think his days in the rotation's over. He's just not the guy that he was a couple of years ago, and ever since he suffered that lat injury last year, he just hasn't been the same. Hasn't been the same. Really, he's had only one solid start. That was against the Red Sox, but he's done well against the Red Sox anytime he's pitched against them. And he could very well be a trade bait. He could very well be a trade bait. He could, I don't know what the future looks like with Luis Hill, but he's certainly, um, it's definitely not in the rotation. What the Yankees plan on doing with him at this point, who knows? But yeah, he could be trade bait. He could be trade bait. He could be a guy that gets traded at the deadline potentially for a team that needs pitching. Yeah, well, here's the thing. The problem with Luis Hill though is that it's his command, and his pitches have been, you know, have been doing favors for opposing bats, meaning the opposing bats are able to, beat him up, because his pitches his command is just not there. He could readily and easily handle 2 innings in long. I mean, he could be a long man in the rotation. He could be a long man in the rotation, but again, none of us really know what the future is for Luis Hill, but he's a guy that could potentially get traded, especially with the amount of pitchers that the Yankees have right now and the guys that are coming up. So, I don't think there's any chance in the world that he's back in the rotation. The bullpen potentially, but again, the Yankees have a lot of options when it comes to that. But I do feel bad for Luis Hill though, man. I had high hopes for him, especially after that 24 season. Yeah, no, and I don't think if the Yankees were to trade him, I don't think the Yankees are going to just trade him just to trade him. I mean, they would like to get some sort of value back. I don't think they're going to try and sell low on him. Dodgers and Yankees are in need of bullpen help desperately. I mean, right? I don't. When it comes to the Yankees, their bullpen, it could be a little shaky. But what I do like though about this bullpen is these guys can, they're able to get out of jams. I mean, it's not sustainable, right? But they've been able to get out of some jams. Whereas if they had certain guys from last season, right? Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, Mark Leiter Jr., there's no way those guys would get out of those jams. The Yankees would be giving up those leads, and there's no way the Yankees would be 20-11 right now. And real quick, it looks like John Heyman put out a tweet. Paul DeJong has opted out of his Yankees deal, and he becomes a free agency as of this afternoon. So if you remember, Paul DeJong was sent to the minors and basically said if the Yankees don't call him up by the end of May, that he's going to ask to be released. So it looks like he's going to be opting out, and he's going to become a free agent as of this afternoon. Weathers and Lagrange, yeah, Lagrange. I want to see Lagrange, come out of the bullpen. I think he'd be a solid bullpen guy. Bednar's literally playing with fire every single outing. Yeah, but you know what? I'll still take Bednar over Devin Williams. I'll still take David Bednar over Luke Weaver. I'll take David Bednar over Clay Holmes. Bednar, it has been a little bit interesting with him on the mound, but you also got to keep in mind that the defense. There's been a couple of games where the defense behind him did not execute. right? So, when the defense behind you doesn't execute, it could create problems, right? So, you got to help. You also got to do your job as a positional player. Bednar is a borderline star closer. Leave him where he is. He just needs to set up, man. Yeah, and as I was talking about with Camilo Duvall, if he can just control his pitches a little bit more, just he could be that perfect setup man for Bednar. I wouldn't. I mean, he was good, right? I mean, 2024 he was pretty solid. 2025 though started off good, but then he went downhill. Unfortunately, there, Dorn. I mean, if he was a stud, right? If he was a stud, the Yankees would have brought him back. They had him on the cheap, and then he went and signed with the Mets, but there was no way I was expecting the Yankees um to give him the deal that the Mets gave him. Oh, I listen, Bill. I'm not saying to make the same mistakes like they did with Joba. I think Elmer Rodriguez is a starter. Lagrange, I know he's been starting. I know he's been starting there in the minors. I know he's made some spring training starts, but I really would love for him to come out of the bullpen personally. But whatever the Yankees decide to do, I mean, whatever, I'll respect it. But I'm just saying, can you imagine Lagrange coming out of the bullpen? Throwing 100. I mean, you want a guy like that. Yeah, I mean, I think the Yankees got the best that they can out of Luke Weaver, but unfortunately, he just kind of he fell off. I mean, I hate to say it, but he did. So, you know, when he got the deal that he did from the Mets, I'm like, yeah, there was no way I was paying him that kind of money. Same thing with Devin Williams. There was no way I was going to give him that kind of money. Look what they're doing with the Mets right now. You can never have too much pitching, especially in the postseason, Bill. Especially in the postseason. You need all the pitching you can get. And Weaver benefited more. Yeah. I mean, he got the contract that he did because of what happened to how he played with the Yankees. Like I said, he got he had some good moments. Yeah, I mean, the Mets are off to a bad start, man. The Mets are off to a bad start there, Susan. I know a lot of Mets fans right now. They want their manager fired. They want their GM fired. What's up, Deb? What's up, Stephen B? Never got notification. Yeah, you're good, man. Sometimes YouTube, sometimes you get notifications, sometimes you don't. I don't know what's up. Weaver and Williams needed to go. Oh yeah, no, I mean when those guys were gone, I was like, yeah, not much of a. It wasn't a loss at all. I think a bigger teardown rebuild is incoming. Who's to say they're going to be better though? I mean, they were supposed to be the big brother of New York, right? Especially after signing Juan Soto, right? Soto's probably he's probably kicking himself right now. He's got to be kicking himself right now. Lindor is the problem with the Mets. I don't know. It sounds like he is. Sounds like he is. Yeah, I mean, Soto got his bag. He got his money. So it really doesn't matter. Soto doesn't care about or it doesn't care about winning. I well, again, What it boils down to is the money for him. Yeah, for sure, Stephen B. Yeah, it's a YouTube thing. Waiting for Mets to sign DeYoung and Grichuk or Grichuk. Yeah, probably Susan. But look, I don't. As far as the whole Soto thing, like I've already said what I needed to say about Juan Soto. I think it's not I think it's a blessing that the Yankees didn't sign Juan Soto, or else they would have never had Max Fried, right? The pitching I think would have still been a problem right now, right? The Yankees gave him more than a fair offer, but he decided to go to Queens. That's fine. That's fine. And the Yankees without Juan Soto are playing better. They played better last year, and they're playing better this year. So the Yankees have a complete team. But either way, Soto went for the bag, and that's fine. If he wanted to go because of the money, good for him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm happy with I'm happy with Max Fried. I'm happy with Cody Bellinger. You know, spread that money around. You got to spread that money around. And I'm getting some messages here. So it looks like Carlos Mendoza is still going to be the Mets manager. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere. And Steve Cohen is giving Stearns at least some assurances that his role is safe. So, oh well. What? Yeah, I'll take Max Fried. I'll take Cody Bellinger. You know what? I'll take Trent Grisham. I'll take Ben Rice. I'll take all those guys. I'll take Ryan. I'll take Ryan McMahon. I'll take everybody that the Yankees have right now because they're right now. This Yankees team is playing well, and I remember. Hell, I remember when two years ago there was folks telling me that the Mets farm was better than the Yankees. I was like, yeah, no way. But I had some folks trying to convince me of that. I mean, I think the Yankees farm is way better than the Mets. He just wants that big tax write off, right? It could be Susan. Look, I don't know what I couldn't tell you what I'm not I have no access, right, to any of these teams and what the overall what it's like in their clubhouse and what it's like behind the scenes. Obviously I don't have that type of connection, but you can only suspect at this point. So, but like I said, overall, I'm happy that the Yankees are where they are right now, 20-11, right after 31 games. Let's see what the month of May looks like. I think the month of May, I think the Yankees can go looking at their schedule. I think they could win 19 games. I think they could go 19-9 or 19-10, really. So I think they can win 19 games. If they win more, even better. Yeah, Mets should have kept on. Well, Mets should have done a lot of things, but hey, whatever. It's the Mets. May and June are easy work. July, we will see if we're that good. Lou says, like I said, man, I'm just gonna say let the Yankees let the games play out and let's see what happens because you never know what's gonna happen in these games. But if there is any team, if there is gonna be any tough games or series, I think I'm still gonna say watch out for the Orioles. You know the Orioles like to give the Yankees a hard time. Same thing with the Rays, the Blue Jays, right? Any of the AL East teams. You know they always like to these teams give the Yankees a hard time. They do. You know it's never easy. But let's see what kind of work the Yankees do against them. They could do. I think they could play well against I think they'll do well against the Brewers and the Mets. And I think they'll have success against the Royals. The A's, they have to. The A's are the team to watch out for as well because the A's play the Yankees really well the first time around. So let's just see how things play out, you know, for the month of May. But I think the Yankees could go, you know, 19-10 or 19-9. That's what I think. Could be better, could be worse. You know, we'll just have to wait and see. But still a long way to go when it comes to the baseball season. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, folks, I'm going to close things out for real. But I do appreciate you all joining me on this Friday afternoon. Thank you all for hanging out. I should be going live tonight for the Orioles Yankees game. I'll let you all know if I don't. I'll make sure I post something. But you know, just keep checking YouTube. Even if you don't get the notifications, check YouTube. See when I go live. All right. I mean, really, that's the best way to find out when I'm going live is just to keep checking YouTube. And yeah, and hopefully, you know, the Yankees can open up their series against the Orioles with a win in the Bronx tonight. And Will Warren's going to pitch tonight for the Yankees. We don't know who's pitching for the Orioles, but it is going to be Will Warren tonight. And Will Warren's been phenomenal, man. He's been great. Will Warren's been great this season. I'm very happy with the way he's been performing. I don't think he's being talked about enough. But all right, later there, Dorn. Yeah, Schmidt's going to be he's a bullpen arm. He's a bullpen guy for sure. Steamboat Willie's been a big surprise. Yeah, he looks a little bit more confident on the mound. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. But anyway, folks, that's going to do it for me. Appreciate everybody joining me for a little while on this Friday afternoon. I'm going to close things out. Thank you all for hanging out for a little while. And make sure you all hit the like button, hit that subscribe, share this channel out with everyone you know. I would greatly appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you all tonight. And as always, let's go Yankees. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you later. Yeah.